I gotta say, I like how you kind of jot down things as we go.
Are we on?
Yeah.
I know it's forced though.
No, I didn't know if we were on or not.
Yeah. So, obligatory. How are you doing today, Johnny?
Obligatory bullshit.
Yeah.
Oh, life is good and then you die, Alex. I'm doing fan-freaking-tastic. How are you?
I am weirdly sleepy today.
Sleepied?
Yes, I peed and now I want to sleep.
I got something that we should talk about, and this is just the first thing that popped in my head. I don't know why. I don't know if it's going to make sense or not. Bioshock. I think we've done this before.
Yeah, we've talked about Bioshock.
Well, let's do it again.
What about it specifically?
Yeah. That. Like, just Bioshock, like...
Well, I don't know too much about Bioshock, to be honest. I mean, I played the first
Do
game.
you know? When you say the first game, do you mean Infinite or, like, the first one?
The first one.
Okay, because the first one that I played was Infinite.
Yeah. And
Blew my 12-year-old brain.
I just remember liking the environment, to be honest. Like
Rapture
was a creepily beautiful place, and I think I should play through it again.
Have you played the Burial at Sea DLC for Infinite?
No.
It makes Rapture beautiful, like before it goes to shit. It's like picture 1960s, 1950s, 1940s New York underwater.
Interesting. Are there any of the powers from the original game?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, there. And who was? Do you remember the creepy rabbit guy with the mask?
The rabbit guy.
Like he had the rabbit mask.
Did he have the art display?
Yeah. Like the creepy guy that wanted you to go kill other people for him, and then you had to fight him.
Yeah, and you had to pose the bodies.
He's in the game.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Does he have the rabbit mask?
Yeah. Yeah, and you play as Buka DeWitt.
Yeah, that was a very fun section of the game. I mean, it was morbid.
It's very morbid.
I don't know what artistic message they were going for.
Just that effed up is okay sometimes if it's done right.
That's a terrible moral.
It shows like an artistically beautiful side of evil.
I suppose that makes sense.
Because it does exist.
Mm-hmm. Otherwise, what would be
It's
the
like
appeal?
Santa meeting the M&Ms. They do exist.
I mean, that is, I suppose, the appeal of evil, is that there has to be a beautiful aspect of it.
It's got to look pretty in order for people to buy into it.
Yeah.
If you saw the real side of evil, would you want to participate in anything it has to offer? No.
But one of the interesting ideas that's like presented as far as, like the Bible goes is
we're going from Bible shock. Bible shock.
Bible shock.
That was a Bible shock because we went from Bioshock to the Bible.
Well, we kind of mentioned good and evil, so,
Well, isn't that what everything boils down to at some point?
Yeah, I mean, the fundamental choice that every human being has is either to lean more towards God, to lean more towards the light, or to lean more towards Satan.
Well, ultimately, yes, but there's a lot in between.
Of course, but I mean, if it were to be boiled down...
If you're, like, boiling down absolutes.
Yeah, because there are things that are... I'm not having a conversation. I don't want to, just keep talking.
Keep talking.
All right, well, anyways. The way the Bible puts it is that there are things... Like, when God made the universe, he saw that it was good. And as a result of that, there's a proper time and place for everything.
Yeah, boy.
You could take something like, I don't know. Like killing. This is something that's viewed in a negative light, as it should be, because, fundamentally speaking... life is valuable, life is sacred. And
Is it though?
Yes.
Is it though?
Because the way our morality, in terms of like Western civilization, is structured is in the value of life. So, if I were to steal your property, for example, something that was yours, say, I don't know. I'm wondering if I should go with like a more modern example or a more like antiquated sort of like hundreds of years ago when
If
like,
someone stole your kettle,
well, yeah, because I mean something like that. That was something that was valuable because it provided for you, and it provided for your ability to live. So the idea behind even value is that it promotes life in some way or another. I mean, you could look at clothing, you could look at money, you could look at the things money buys. It just makes your life better, and that's how we gauge our value of a given thing. So that's kind of the point I was going to make in the example, so I won't even bother with the example. But as far as good and evil is concerned, I guess, because there's a time and a place for everything, there is a time when killing is not evil, and that's usually in cases of self-defense when somebody is trying to kill you because they're just trying to steal things from you. They just hate you for no reason. They're insane.
If you have to kill someone to preserve your own life, that's okay.
Like the point I'm trying to make is that killing isn't always wrong.
No.
There are some times where it's a moral imperative to kill.
Murder is wrong.
Yes.
Killing isn't.
Yes. It isn't wrong to have sex, but it is wrong to commit fornication, and it's wrong to commit adultery.
and homosexuality.
And that too. And that's not to say that God doesn't love sinners, because he does.
Dude, if God
But
didn't
he
love
hates their
sinners,
sin.
if God didn't love sinners, we wouldn't stand a chance.
Yeah.
Just straight up. And like one particular thing, a rabbit hole I like to go down when this sort of topic comes up is the whole idea of smoking. Because nowhere in the Bible does it say anything about, smoking is like you shouldn't do it, you can't do it.
Well, we've had this conversation before.
And yet you get like preachers that are like, oh, if you smoke, you're going to hell, blah, blah, blah. Like, they talk bad about it. And I heard one pastor in particular, I won't mention his name, but you know who I'm talking about. He said that I don't believe smoking will send you to hell. I just think it'll take you to heaven a lot faster.
Mm-hmm.
And so like there's gray areas where like it's bad for you, yes.
I don't necessarily believe in gray areas. I think everything can be boiled down to an absolute if you increase the resolution in which you look at it enough. You could take video games, for example, a traditionally gray area for many Christians who are young, and you can make it black and white pretty quickly if you just take into account more things that are encompassing an individual's use of video games. So, for example, if you take a guy who just plays video games every now and then, and
what is your every now and then? A couple times a week?
Yeah, a couple times a week with some friends, maybe for like an hour, hour and a half, and it's not intruding into his life, we'll say, in an obtuse way. And his conscience,
healthy pastime.
Yeah, and his conscience isn't bothered by it. You take a guy like that and you compare him to somebody who just plays video games all the time, and whose habit patterns and arguably his life is, if it were a Venn diagram, it would be, say, I don't know, in terms of like free time of his own, separate from work if he has a job.
I was going to say, what if that is his job? Like, what if because I know people, they get paid money to competitively play against other players in video games, and they have tournaments and they travel the world, and
if it's
like that's their living.
If it's their job, then I would question I would question the value of the job.
Like, these people make bank, dude.
Oh, I know. Like competitive Tekken players can be just whoa.
Hey, it's
like,
fun to watch.
Like they go into tournaments and they totally kick ass, and it's of a similar value as traditional sports, only it's more of a mental thing. And you can compare it to games like chess as well, where you go into like chess competitions and successfully beat opponents, and there's a value to that. But when it's used as escapism, and like in your mind and in your heart that you could be doing better things with your time, then In a case like that, I would probably judge that as an improper use of video games, and in that sense, it would be better if that particular individual didn't play video games as much. And that's just, you know.
See, because I go back to the old saying that too much of anything is no good for you.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter what it.
That's the principle that I'm kind of playing on right now.
Because a lot of people are like, oh, so I can smoke a little bit, but you know, not a lot. And it's like technically, yeah.
Yeah, but then
depending
it's like,
on what you're smoking and why you're doing it, and like as long as
exactly,
it doesn't,
like, what's the function of it?
As long as it doesn't control you to the point where like you quote unquote can't live without. Like I remember there was a time if I didn't have a pack of cigarettes, or if I had gone a certain amount of hours without smoking a cigarette, I would get cranky. And I would get.
I remember a few of those times.
I would get cranky, and I would get hungry, and like just like I could taste it, and it just was not a pleasant experience. And then I would get the cigarette and be like,
everything's okay. Now.
Everything is fine.
All
like
because of
I am
cigarette.
right as rain, and I say I can't live without it, but literally, I wouldn't. If I had kept on the path of smoking cigarettes, it would slowly kill me. Like hell, even these vapes are slowly killing me, and like this is how I weaned myself off cigarettes entirely, was because of this, because it still has the nicotine in it, but I'm not smelling like an ashtray, I'm saving my money, and it's not like every second of every day you know, like I can take one of these XXL Cali bars and make it last.
We're not sponsored, by the way.
Yeah, and make it last like 3 or 4 days. And I'm not gonna sit up here and because I vape and say, oh, you know, don't vape, or you know, like those stupid, cheesy, corny, don't smoke cigarettes and don't vape commercials that are this like, it oozes trendy corporate bullshit. Yeah. And like, so I'm not gonna sit here and tell you do it. I'm not
like
gonna
that
sit
one
here.
Filthy Frank video.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I think it was a cringe of the week of his.
Mm-hmm. But no, I'm not gonna sit here and say, you know,
the
don't
series
vape.
that had like 4 episodes.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna sit here and say, you know, don't vape, or yeah, you should totally go out and buy a vape. Like no, like obviously, if you from a health standpoint, you're better off not doing it. But I'm in no position to tell anyone whether or not they should vape or do, you know, recommend anything.
Mm-hmm. So you'd probably be better off not doing it.
In the long run, yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Not vaping, you mean?
Yeah.
Well. If it could see in my head,
because you just said it's slowly killing you.
The box I'm in right now is it's like you know this is like the only vice that I have. Like I used to be on a lot more things than just vape.
Well, I mean,
and I got rid of all of it except
this
for
is
this.
A conversation we had in the car driving to, where was it, the Civic Center or someplace like that, when there was something going on, and then we didn't end up going.
Yeah.
For those of you who I don't know, have no idea what we're talking about. It's just we were going for a drive
here where we live.
Yeah, we were going for a drive one day, and we had a conversation very similar to this about Vice, and it was interesting. So, I mean, do you want to just like run through that conversation again?
I mean, we can. I don't remember word for word, but hopefully it'll still be as organic as it was in the car.
Yeah, I don't really remember it that well either. That's why I think it would be an interesting topic, because I vaguely remember you mentioning, like, I think we should have recorded this. Because it was just interesting.
Because, like, when you're born into this world, unless you're a drug baby or something like that, and, like, you know, the circumstances leading into your existence were screwed up from the get-go, the average baby, from my understanding at least, is not born addicted to nicotine or alcohol or marijuana. You know,
because those are exterior chemicals not generated by the body.
Nobody is born, like I said, under normal circumstances, is born addicted to those vices. Those are things that you pick up as you get older and you learn about life. And you become addicted to these things because a lot of them have addicting chemicals. Hell, it says right on the pack, on a pack of cigarettes, or when you buy a vape, that nicotine is known to be an addictive chemical and can cause various types of cancer. Like, they're not trying to hide it from you. Mm-hmm. And then people turn around like me and they say, oh, dude, this is my one vice. Like, everybody's got a vice. That doesn't mean everyone started with a vice.
Nor does it mean that everybody should have a vice.
No, it doesn't mean everyone should. But, you know, like I said, this is, as of today's date and this very moment, this is the lesser of the two evils compared to everything I was doing. Like, I would consider this an improvement. This is the only thing
I agree.
that I mess with. Like, you know, I'm not smoking cigarettes anymore. I'll occasionally have a cigar, but that's like once or twice a month, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like it used to be a once a week thing, and then my wallet said no, and so it went to like a once or twice a month thing. And I see it as like a treat, like, hey, you just had like a really good dinner or something, or that it's nice outside, or you're grilling,
the
like
biggest
like,
cheeseburger.
Truth be told,
life.
you really, because dude, I remember when I was smoking cigarettes, like a cigarette did not taste better than after I just ate. Like that first post dinner cigarette was just
cigarettes just are
hit the right
they
spot.
They smell and taste like butt cheek anyway. So it's like,
No, I mean, some of them had really cool, and a lot of it was the tobacco mixed with the nicotine. But nowadays they're putting all kinds of shit in them, especially the menthol cigarettes. Oh man, that was my weakness. Was Newport menthol 100s. Like that was like candy for me. Like I could go through 2 or 3 boxes of those in one day. But I wasn't born like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, these are things because someone's like, oh yeah, if you got, if you're stressed out, this will calm you down. Try this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, and when I tried it for the first time, I was stressing out because I was at work and a whole bunch of crazy shit went down there.
I think we might have talked about on the
Yeah.
podcast about the first time you used cigarettes.
And because before, like I think we've talked about it before, the whole idea with cigars is you see all these Hollywood badasses.
Yeah,
It's like, I want to try this. And so, and that's how I tried the cigars, but it wasn't like an addicting thing.
Mm-hmm.
The cigarettes became an addicting thing because it was like a constant, hey, I'm stressed out. Oh my gosh. And then I tried marijuana, and I tried some pills. And
Yeah, you've gone through your stupid little story in the past. So,
But my whole point being is that no one held a gun to my head and said, hey, you have to try this or
Right.
you're going to die. If anything, if you keep on trying those things, they'll kill you themselves.
Yeah.
So I guess the point I'm trying to make is that for one, because see, with God, sin is sin no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter if you steal a candy bar from a grocery store or go out and kill 17 people. That sounds insane because as human beings, we have a sin value chart, basically. And it's like we play things out to be, oh, this is not as bad as this, or that's way worse than that. But in the Bible, it says sin is sin.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to die because everyone sinned, and the wages of sin is death. Major, minor premise, blah, 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 blah.
And
We
that
already know this.
implied that, like, I mean, because you get paid for wages, This was something I was listening to yesterday. You get paid for wages, so technically we're working for death when we sin. And, like, I don't know, like, this could just be me talking out of my own laziness because I have the tendency to be a lazy person, believe it or not. And I don't know, like, I've reached points in the past where it's like doing things wrong that I knew were wrong stopped being fun, and it just turned into this slog of just like, I don't want to be doing this. I really don't want to be doing this, yet I'm doing it anyway, and I hate myself for it. And I'll admit I lean towards perfectionism.
No,
at least
really?
in certain things. In other things, I'm like a lazy slob. But there are certain things where, like, once my ego is invested, that part of you that rears its ugly head and goes like, "This is mine." That part of me, when that gets engaged, it's like, it's like trying to take a stick from a very angry puppy.
Mm-hmm. But no, like, see, you're someone who hasn't done, like, everything that I've done that was like bad, which is a very good thing. Because you hear growing up, like, old people in particular, because they're very wise for the most part. Some you get like crazy old cranky people, and you just love them from a distance and ignore the shit out of them whenever they start going off about like the World War II and the Japanese, and it's like, oh, here he goes again, talking about
the Japs,
talking about those dadgum Japs and Pearl Harbor, and it's like, that's the only thing they talk about for the rest of their life. It's like, hey, Mr. Bill, how you doing? Japanese, and it's like,
I think you're hurt. You're hurt, man.
But the average old person has been through some shit.
Mm-hmm.
And so, especially us, we heard a lot growing up. Like, oh, don't do this, don't do that. Because, we also grew up in church. So it was like we were forced to live a very strict lifestyle.
Yes, and,
And what ended up
our
happening-
dad was a bit older.
A bit.
Or I should say he is
When I
a
was
bit older.
18, this man turned 75.
Yeah.
And so, like, a lot of it for me was, like, subconscious, suppressed rebellion. Because when I was doing it, it's not like, oh, I was never allowed to do this, so now I'm going to try it. Screw you. Stick it to the man. Like,
Yeah.
that wasn't my mindset going into it. It was just,
a rebel.
I was, like,
I'm rebelling.
oddly
now.
curious, and it's like, oh, no one's here to tell me. No, what is this? What is it? Whoa! I can smell the color 7. Like, and just really weird, retarded things. And a lot of it, dude, it was fun. I'm not gonna lie.
Of course it was. It plays on, just the pleasure systems in our brain, and that's all it does. It's a very hollow form of what would be the right way to put it? I suppose something like emotional fulfillment. Because that's really what we're looking for.
Especially if you've got some deep, repressed, dark shit that you don't talk about.
Yeah, and you just look for temporary fixes as opposed to getting to the root of the problem.
Because nobody wants to go inward and see the darkness staring back at them.
Yeah.
And
You stare into the abyss stares into you.
Yeah.
Winston Churchill.
Yes.
Circa 1875.
See, he smokes cigars like...
Why do you think he led Britain during World War II? He fought them in the fields, and in the bushes, in the rivers.
and behind the desk with a pen.
Yes.
Man, we gotta do like a whole segment devoted to Winston Churchill, because this dude
He was weird.
was weird.
But, no, like, pivoting back to the original subject of something like Vice, I guess that's what we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
There's more to Vice than just eating things or smoking things or drinking things that are a bit racy,
That are a bit what?
Racy.
I thought
like
you said
exciting.
racist. I'm like, wait a minute.
no.
How is drinking racist? Like,
Yes,
have we
the,
come to this as a society?
Yes, vodka is racist against
Russians?
Russians? Yeah, but they're white, so you can't be racist against
Hennessy
white people.
is racist against black people.
Oh, no.
Bacardi is racist against black people. Manischewitz is racist against the Jews.
Yeah.
And beer is racist against white people.
But you can't be racist against white people. So. But
Can
no,
you though?
because the idea behind Vice is something like a momentary pleasure that's more escapist than anything else,
Deep down, yeah.
which we basically already talked about.
Like, I remember I would get high, and I would write some of the weirdest, most well-developed, like, they weren't quite stories. They leaned more towards the direction of short stories, but they were more like thoughts and ideas, and, like, it wasn't just, like, I'm fake being high, like, oh, can you hear the beat of a butterfly's wing beat? Like really weird, like...
Can you hear the grasshopper chirping at your feet?
Like, it was deep, in-depth stuff, because I remember even looking back on it when I was sober, and it's like, holy shit, that was deep. And that wasn't just me, patting myself on the back and saying what a good job I did. Like, it actually, like, spoke to me like somebody else wrote it. And
Well, in a way, somebody else did write it.
Oh, I was afraid you were going to say that.
Because it wasn't you.
I mean, it was.
But it wasn't.
How do you mean?
Well,
Like, I think I know where you're going with
it
this.
like
but
this, okay? So, when your mind is changed by either a substance or a circumstance, and there's an emotional sort of pivot, you're not in your normal state of mind. Thus, you're not your normal you. You're still you, but you're different.
Mhm.
So in that sense, because depending on the circumstances or what you ingested, a different sub-personality within you will start to manifest itself either more strongly, or your primary sort of image of yourself will start to diminish a bit. So, depending on how that works, it's not exactly your normal you doing that writing, that speaking, that acting.
Because I remember, yeah, dude, singing was another big thing. Me and my friend, I won't mention his name, but you've met him a few times.
Mm-hmm.
Me and him, this friend of mine, we would get high at my house, and for a white guy, he could rap. Like, you know, like he actually like had depth and substance to him, and he had a very traumatizing family experience or family tragedy when he was 16 years old, and it really like you know screwed him up.
Mm-hmm.
And he lost his mom, and like the pain and like the sadness and everything. Like he's made peace with it, you can tell, but sometimes when me and him would get high again, it would all come back out, and you could hear it in the way he was rapping and crap like that. And then I would start singing about the shit that I had been feeling and going through and experiencing and have felt in the past or was feeling in the moment. And it was like we brought a tear to everyone in that room. Granted, everyone was equally screwed up. Like, you know, we were all high or drunk or something. But every time we did this, and we were all like similarly mindseted,
Inebriated, yeah.
yeah, everyone, you know, it was way easier to pick up on the vibes in the room. And it was like everyone was like, holy crap, these guys are like, whoa. Like, you know, and it wasn't like we were king shit and everybody else was some low petty commoner. It was just that we had what we brought to that experience, just like it was easier for everyone to
And plus the bar was lowered because everybody's inhibitions were lowered.
Mm-hmm.
And those inhibitions are...
Like, forget being socially awkward. At that point, you couldn't be. Like, it was like we had all known each other like forever. Like, that's how comfortable everyone was in the room with each other. And I remember this one time I was in New Jersey, and Angelo, who we love you, Angelo.
Yes, Angelo,
we love you very much. We miss
ever.
you. You're like the best person in the world. Please
When you become president,
don't stop being you. Remember
the
us.
universe of the planet of
make
America.
our podcast great again.
Yes,
like
make our podcast. That's just make our podcast.
Yeah, pretty much. Me and him got drunk in his apartment, and it was me, him, and a couple of his buddies. And I hopped on the piano, and he grabbed a cajon or the cajon or the Cajun or whatever the hell you call it, the box thing that you play, the percussion instrument that you sit on. And his friend started rapping, and dude, let me tell you, this is something we talk about to this day of how great that night was. Because like,
it's possible you just thought it was great because
we tried to recreate it sober and we couldn't do it.
Yeah, but it's entirely possible that your perception of that night is better than the actuality because
dude, but I can hear it in my head though, like the chords and
I wasn't there, so I'm not gonna judge. I'm just saying,
I remember
there's probably more to it than just like, you know, we got really drunk and you know we made the best sounding song in the universe of the planet.
But like he was talking about like how sad he was because a girl broke up with him, and Angelo was on beat the whole time. Like he didn't like skip a beat or anything. Like he kept a rhythm, and I was just playing like I was only playing like 4 or 5 chords or something. I don't remember. You know, it wasn't like a complicated thing, but just the way that the energy flowed in the room, and like again, you know, the vibes and crap people were picking up in there. But this room had only like 3 or 4 people in it max. It was a very, very small room. And it was amazing. Like it was so raw and like exposed and just out there. Like it was like a Bob Ross painting type of like, I don't really know how to describe it. Like you had to be there because I don't know the words to describe how cool it was.
Well, I don't think there really are for certain unique experiences like that, because words are defined by their meaning, and meaning is defined by something a bit more abstract and more spiritual than material. And as a result of that, when something uniquely sort of emotional / spiritual happens, it's difficult to put it into words because it's new. And it's almost as though you have to create a new idea to facilitate that meaning that happens in that moment, because it's so unique and it's so new, it's organic. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's good. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's outright evil in every way, you know, speaking just morally about it. But at the same time, it's interesting to note how that's the effect that music and the removal of our inhibitions, that's the effect that it has.
Yeah, man.
Like
Nobody
fear,
was uptight.
like
and
think about
butthurt.
how bound we are by fear. Like fear to me is like one of those huge just emotional enemies that everybody faces. Between fear and pride, it's almost like, it's strange to say, because you could make the argument that if it weren't for fear, we would have no like real survival instinct, and we would, be, just stupid animals, doing whatever we think we can do, as opposed to what we can actually do. And then as a result of that, reality happens, and
Yeah.
we get injured or die. Just because we think we can fly doesn't mean, we suddenly have wings. It's like, that's not how that works. But at the same time, fear, when you're performing, for example, I think you can relate to this as a musician. You're gonna mess up a shit ton if you're uptight. Your ass cheeks are just like together. On the seats, just trying.
Like you got a rod stuck up your ass.
Yeah, like you're just terrified.
Rigid.
Of the people around you. You're afraid of the outcome.
And you hear the stupidest advice ever to get over this, like, oh, just picture everyone in their underwear. Like, just why? I mean, it's hilarious. I've done it before, and for me, it works sometimes. But
there's a more reliable solution, I think, and that solution, it's at least
marijuana. No, I'm just kidding.
Like, speaking for myself, it's like having confidence that what you're doing is good. But the only way that works is by actually having the confidence to know what you're doing is good. Because if I were to perform, as a musician in like a more secular setting, that probably wouldn't sit too well with me, just if I'm being completely honest. Like, especially depending on the song. Like if I was like doing a guitar solo to like a Cardi B song like WAP, I would probably mess up a good amount, because I'm like, I don't think I should be doing this. Just like, that's just who I am.
See, I'll open up here a little bit and tell you a dream or desire I have one day.
Yeah.
Is I want to be one of those nighttime piano bar lounge singers, and like have like the room where like everybody comes in and they're all dressed up, and people are smoking cigarettes, and they got the fancy food, and all the waiters look the same and they're dressed alike, and like you have people that get up on the stage and sing, and it's all like quiet jazz music and crap. And you got like Linda Ronstadt music, or Michael Bublé, or Sinatra, like things like that. I would kill to do something like that. I would really, I would love to be able to just get up there, I've got and just like start singing, and like, not because I think I'm good at it, but because it's something I just like, I want to do it. Like, I want to set the mood and like provide like a comfortable,
and emotionally manipulate people through music.
Well, no, not even that, because I'm not doing it for the money.
That's kind of what you're doing, though. Like,
I'm not I'm just trying to give people a good time.
Well, like, you're changing their emotions.
Yeah, like I want to entertain them.
Yeah. It's emotional manipulation.
No,
that's a really bad way of saying it.
I was going to say manipulation provides some, or implies some kind of malicious motive.
Well, I don't know. I don't think, because I have heard from musicians, them describe like their music as manipulating people, and there's truth to it. You listen to a song and you don't feel the same, if it's a song you enjoy, and you allow it to have its effect on you. You don't feel the same after you hear it. Like, that's the point of the song, is to change how you feel. There's an emotional connection to music, which, I mean,
there's gotta be.
Talked about a bunch before. And I don't know, like, I think if I were to share a similar dream, Johnny, it would have to be something like, I want to make good Christian music. Like, as stupid as that sounds, like the Hillsong Bunch pisses me off to an incredible degree.
Oh my guy.
There are aspects of modern Christian music that I just despise. It's incredibly lazy. It takes the feel good sort of overarching theme of just like modern pop music for the most part, and provides like a replacement to the actual presence of God with it. And people think they're having an interaction with God, when in reality they're just listening to, just chill music that's putting them in a stupor.
What I don't like about Christian music, with the exception of feel that there's an artist out there, his name's Crowder. I like Crowder's music. I like Kurt. Yeah, he looks like Duck's Dynasty, but skinny. He actually, like a lot of Christian songs nowadays, don't even have the word God or Jesus in them. It's just, you are the one who saves. You are the one who makes a brighter day. You are. And I love you so, and you love me so, and you're my best friend, and I'm your best friend, and we will be together.
I love you, you love me.
Yeah, like, it's so stupid. And I'm not...
And that's not to say that that message is bad. It's just the way it's presented.
Because don't get me wrong, I don't think there's a single member of Hillsong or any other Christian musician who is intentionally trying to lead people away from God.
Well, people from Hillsong recently have come out as something like...
Don't tell me there's some bullshit Islam going on up in here.
No. They call it deconstruction. Where... Yeah, the word deconstruction is a very stupid word, because there's nothing constructive about deconstruction. Deconstruction is literally just destruction. Like, that's what it means. It means to take something apart. So that word is a fabrication.
What are they doing, though?
So basically, the idea behind deconstruction, in terms of Christianity, is looking at your faith and then taking it apart and looking at areas where it's weak, and then rather than seeking some form of spiritual reinforcement, if there is any, just completely doing away with your faith and taking everything down because of some weird issue. And a lot of these issues tend to lean on something like in James, where he says, "Ye ask amiss when you pray." At least that's what I've seen in a good number of cases. Politics also plays a role. There's been a recent rise in woke Christianity, which is basically...
Oh, what in the bullshit is
it's
woke
basically
Christianity?
It's Christianity served on something like the platter of Marxism, where they misconstrue the teachings of Jesus, where he says to, give to the poor, he admonishes the rich, and they take that message and they throw it into the filter of Marxism.
Oh no.
And this is something that drives me insane, because Jesus also preached that unto him who has more will be given, and unto him who doesn't have, even that which he does have will be taken from him.
Yes, sir.
And that's an innately capitalistic statement. I mean, just in terms of the underlying meaning behind to have. It's more of a spiritual thing than it is a material thing. And that implies that it's an aspect of a person's character that exists, and because it exists, production proceeds from it. And I get that implication from that scripture because God is a God of life, and what he gives is a life, and life more abundantly. So, as a result of this sort of deconstruction movement, a bunch of Christians have been reshaping their faith into something that's more New Age.
Oh, man.
It's bullshit, man.
Man. Why'd you have to say New Age?
Because that's kind of what it is. It's just spirituality. It's knowing that people... there's an emotional substructure to people that's consistent across the board, and because it's not material, believing that it's rooted in the ego or something like that. It's weird, and it barely makes any sense in terms of its internal consistency, although there are outreaching sort of branches of the spiritual movement that do make sense because they play upon just basic rules of reality.
Got you. Oh, I almost dropped my sinning device, my vape.
Your sinning device.
Yep. Like, if Kenneth Copeland can have a preaching machine in a $60 million jet, I can have a sinning device that I put right in my
Preaching
pocket.
machine?
That's what he called it. He says, this is a preaching machine.